This conference will now be recorded.
Do you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we are now on the record, Mr. Chair. This will be roll call for the January 25th full council business meeting. All right, Jerome Hill,
Present.
Pat Smith, Justine Patterson,
Present.
Ben Shirley, Webster Barnaby, Dennis Baxley, Reggie Bellamy, Christopher Benjamin, Patrick Diggs, T. Willard Fair, Shevlin Jones, Mike Mason, Anthem Moore, Margaret Preston,
Present.
Marcus Smith,
Present.
Yada Kane, and Terrell Nelson. All right, Chair, that concludes roll call.
Present.
Welcome everyone. We do understand. I'd like to take a point of privilege right now to go ahead and go over some housekeeping matters. At lunchtime today, take a 2-hour break, and I believe food trucks will be outside of this doorway here. So we can certainly leave out this doorway here, go to food trucks, but for security reasons, we can't come back in through that door. We'll have to go ahead and go in through the front door to get back into the building. So we were made aware of that, and Cindy will provide what the menu looks like in terms of that. And I'm also in recognition of the other members who are coming today that will be in and out. Their roles during the session, play a significant role in their participation. So we will see some members leave in and out of the meeting, and I wish them all well. So once again, welcome. Thank you for attending. Some of the ideas and thoughts that we've been able to do over the past in 2023, I do want to do a reflection of that. I think it's significant to take a look at the role we played, how we have really fundamentally changed the council, the recognition that we received over the year, and it really behooves the hardworking staff that we have. And so I really want to go ahead and recognize those individuals. Naturally, in every year, we have our challenges, and I'll state those challenges and how we can go ahead and overcome those. Some ideas, and I'll need to see what your input is on that, and you know, to serve as guidance moving forward for the council. So I do want to go ahead and speak about that. One of our legacy issues that we always want to go ahead and conquer is the participation. In state agencies, we're being asked to do more with a whole heck of a lot less. Our budgets have been, some have been static, some have grown, but so has those responsibilities. And thus, our time is pulled away. However, Vice Chair Pat Smith, 2 meetings ago, made a full-throated effort to go ahead and explain to us how our participation is greatly needed in a council such as this. And thus, she naturally implored that I do something about it. How do I go about changing that particular narrative? I thought about it for a few months, tinkered around with it, spoke to our attorneys about how we can go about fixing this matter. Um, and this is not adjusted to anybody who misses meetings here and there. This does not pertain to them. This is for individuals who do not come at all, and that do not respond to emails, phone calls, and so on and so forth. So what I decided to do was to go ahead and write a letter to the Senate President, also to the governor's office, and to the House, and to explain to them the importance of why we need participation in the council, submit to them the attendance of those members that I seek to have removed from the council. That's an extraordinary move that the council has never done before. Naturally, I'm taking full responsibility for that. However, I have also a responsibility to each and every one of you. It's not fair to you that a few lift up the many, and their participation with their organizations, so on and so forth. It's not fair to those organizations that hope that these individuals will be part of a winning formula in solution to that cause. So I'll be writing that up in earnest and having that sent out, and in hopes that we will receive new members. I'm curious to know, although I know a couple of meetings ago, there was certainly a support for that. However, I still want to engage what the appetite is now for that decision. And I'd love to hear your comments. Yes.
So the question, so the letter that's being drafted to the House and Senate, the smart was going to change or not continue. That includes the agency regulations of this. The letter to the President's office and the House and the Senate, which certainly pertains to the delegation for state agency.
Great question. Is to their appointments. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there also some of the letters to the agency?
Yes. Yes. So I don't know if you want to say that again.
And the reason I asked, the state agency is, again, you asked about that, like obviously, the session, they're finding out, what's going on. I think with the agencies, obviously the agency heads are not going to designate themselves. They tend to designate individuals from the agencies that they feel that's appropriate, which tend to be probably bureau chiefs, division directors, and high level individuals that tend to be just real busy all the time. There may be some thought or consideration to individuals that may not be those high level. And again, I think they're trying to do their due diligence to let the council know that we're going to send the most highest ranking individual there. Mm-hmm. But we all tend to be just busy all the time, i.e. like today in sessions going on and everybody doing building analysis and everything else. But there may be some thought to individuals within the agency that may not be that high ranking individual, but it's a go-getter, would really participate in the council such as this, do the due diligence, and may have the time to actually be present and do some work.
Sure.
For us to all of them right down to our officers.
Yeah, I get it. But just thought.
Yeah, no, and just for further clarification, Justine's missed some time here. You've missed some time. The distinction and the difference is your communication with the council. that is always excusable. We understand that your positions require a lot from you. And with that being said, this doesn't fall for those individuals. It's for the individuals who absolutely have absolutely no contact with us. We've sent correspondence after correspondence after correspondence. That's the unfair part. For the dedicated staff that helps us and helps the council run, it's not fair of their time, where their time could be spent doing other things otherwise. It's not fair to the council at large, and it's certainly not fair to those organizations. It's been problematic year after year after year. However, there hasn't been a definitive step to address that. So how I plan on addressing that is not only with the letter, but also to show the attendance and the correspondence that is required. Now, however, those appointing, the Senate President or certainly can go ahead and take a look at that and say, we will have them participate more, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. However, we have to do something, and that's a burden on me. Just it wouldn't be fair to you in the position I'm in not to do anything about that either. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Mark. What do you think? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Sometimes we all need a gentle reminder.
Mhm.
And I use that term gentle because we have to let others know how important they are to the council. Some people that maybe they're not a member of the executive portion, they don't have as much contact with you or with other members. And I think that's something else that probably that's needed, that we actually have more contact with each other, whether it's through written, through emails. I think just to keep the interest up and to maybe people feel that they're not really contributing. So I think that we've got to kind of stroke each other to the point that you are needed. We're in this together.
We are. Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. And so what we've done is we sent out correspondence in the beginning of concern. Are you okay? Is there anything that we can do on that end of it? We do express, how valuable they are to us. I've had Michelle do that countless times. And then we begin the blitz. That was the blitz of emails that we've sent. Naturally, we want to go ahead and have a legacy record of what we're trying to do, along with phone calls. Some of you are blessed to have additional staff underneath you, and then we'll contact those members too, to see what's going on. And then, unfortunately, even still, with those considerations made, we find ourselves at a loss, and that's concerning because the issue that I have, the global issue, is that to get some of the things that we need to get done on the council, we need a quorum. And until I can go ahead and have that changed in state law, we will find us at a disadvantage. And we will have to get things done under the designation of delegate authority. that has not been challenged yet by anyone in the Senate, in the, in the House. Even our attorneys haven't challenged that yet. It's what has been we've been using that to go in and get the good things that we have gotten done last year. However, it's best that the way the state statute's made up, that, we have a quorum of some sort. And so that's my bigger concern on that. And certainly the steps that you are talking about, we make that as a practice when we start getting people involved. Yeah. And that's where we stand on that end of it, I take that burden on my shoulders, because I have a responsibility to you all. And I gotta make sure that I take this position very seriously. And I really see the advantage of what we can all do collectively together. And if we can get more people to get involved with that, we can do some incredible advancements that this council has never done before. And that's where I stand. Well, Marcus, do you have any thoughts about that?
I guess one of the things I was just thinking about is it relates to
This conference will now be recorded.
I guess the homework that we do. I know for state employees, so I'm delegate, and if there was a need that I couldn't be here, so I could have my secretary do a delegation letter for somebody to stand in, because ultimately who's ever here is representing he or she. But I think maybe that's something of importance that can be placed on other members as well. I don't know statutorily or so, the grounds they may be in, but also appointment or delegation or so. If nothing else, I think just somebody here to kind of really give them who, what, when, where, and why that happened. But I think there again, the big problem, as you stated, is just non-existence, basically no response, no what have you. But there again, I think even for the importance of those who say that they want to be here, I think that part of communication, delegation, or whatever is definitely key. And really where we're going, it's you're not here to vote, and then you're not even checking in to see what needs to be done. And to your point, I mean, at some point you just you would like people to make that decision themselves because they recognize the importance of what we do. But then I guess if they don't have the wherewithal to make that call themselves, we just have to make it for them.
I don't really know exactly under what authority we operate, but I serve on many boards, as do many of us. And most of the boards I serve on, we operate under bylaws for those boards. And attendance is one of the key points of our bylaws. So when it comes to, however it's stated, attending or lack of attending X number, it's written that if you fail to attend with timely notice, with reasons why you can't, or not delegating someone else, that it almost becomes an automatic. So when you have to make that contact with the agency head or with whoever appoint, then you've already got it solidified, that you don't have to guess and say, well, I can show you our attendance and this person actually, this is what we've documented. So I think it makes it easier. It doesn't, it takes away any emotion, any feelings. It's not about that. It's about the business.
Yeah, I think you bring up an excellent point. And last year, or if it was early last year, or even the year before that, we amended those bylaws to have those attendance things. And each of those individuals have surpassed those days and those things. So that was one of the things that we would be highlighting in that letter of bylaws on that end of it. So, it was with careful consideration. Um, I won't sit here to say that I'm not frustrated. I am. Um, my ambition for the council is, and my appetite for getting things done is huge. Um, but I also know that I need to be measured, and I also need to be governed by a lot of what you believe too. Um, and there are instances where I need to put counsel first before even before my own desires or our desires. And it certainly falls in that line.
Yeah, so I'm trying to come up with some resolve. I just had this thought while General was talking. I know statutorily, it's the agency head or the delegated authority. And I think like my delegation, man, is it 2 years, 2 years or 4 years? I forgot what it was.
I think it was 4 years.
What about the possibility of having a delegate and an alternate delegate in that delegation letter? And I don't know if the Chinese would have to weigh in on that. And so in the event, let's say for the Department of Health, the delegated authority, the delegate for the state surgeon general. However, there could be maybe potentially an alternate delegate in the event that I can't attend, that it automatically defaults through that delegation to this other individual to attend. Another thought I had, since the publicly noticed meetings, that anybody could attend, and let's say like the gentleman was saying, I have a staff person who come in my stead, but at that point in time, if that person is not a delegated or alternate delegate, they could not participate. The most they can do is sit in the audience and take some notes and bring them back, which probably still puts them to square one if I'm the type of individual that's not going to adhere to. So, but maybe the alternate delegate may be a possibility. Again, the attorneys and other folks that get involved to see that may help be some resolve to the again, like council's been around with since 2006, 2007, and I was on the council one time before, and it's been the same issue. So I feel your frustration. Dr. Granier had the same frustration. The executive board from the past had the same frustration. So the route you're taking is, I think the best route. However, you may want to consider that alternate delegate if the attorneys say that's something to do. It almost gives the agency head not an out, but some alternatives. Because it is kind of embarrassing for an agency head to say that the person that they delegate, is just not doing their job, because ultimately it's that agency's head responsibility to ensure that if he or she is not going to attend, that someone from the agency attend.
One of the reasons, great point, and I want to talk about that a little bit more. One of the reasons why, as a journalist, they reach out to me. I wanted to find out what's going on with the council. Why aren't we doing more? I don't want to be on that type of radar. None of us wants to be on that radar. We all are underneath the sunshine laws. They can pull up any of our records. I have a responsibility to protect the people on this board too, on the council. And so that's the other reason why I came up with this, to do that. I'd like to get back to what you were saying though. I think that's an excellent point. And maybe that's one of the things that we should flesh out in this meeting. is to put into our bylaws. Maybe can't put it into the state statute, but let's create something in our bylaws that will go ahead and give delegate authority to those appointing agencies. The Office of the Attorney General, the Governor's Office, of course, the House and Senate. Particularly, I do want to get to that point too, but you kind of accelerated that. I'll be asking our legislative members to, if they cannot be in attendance, to have their legislative aide be in attendance from now on. And then, my reasoning for that was the budget. I submitted in a budget for over $500,000 for the session. We were able to. We were advised on the same day that the deadline was given for us to submit it. I worked on that for 3 hours so we can have a robust budget. It's still, and I submitted it before the deadline, a few hours before the deadline, and I was advised that they did not take that submission. I never want to be in that position again, ever, 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 ever. So while we're talking shop, I spoke with our executive director, Terrell Nelson, 2 days ago, that it will be an action item of his to go ahead and know what legislative aides know in terms of when to submit that budget. And from now on, the day that we need to submit the budget, although it's not a deadline, it's our deadline. We'll submit because we have worked on the budget before that time, and we'll submit it at that point in time. So if there's any course corrections that we need to make, we make them, and we'll have more than enough time. So I think that's best practices moving forward, and that type of knowledge that the ED receives, that it is brief, so all of us will know. And I think that will only be enhanced if the legislative aides are attending these meetings also. And I'm open to hear what your thoughts are about that also.
So you recommend that the legislative aides attend all the meetings, or instead attend if the representatives cannot attend the meeting?
Right, if the representatives cannot attend the meeting, let the legislative aides attend. I'm not opposed to what we may experience here, that the legislative aide and the legislative member attends. Of course, lately we've had many more virtual meetings than we've had face-to-face meetings, and certainly, that would be probably more agreeable to the legislative aides to attend that. But the business meetings, in particular, my idea is, as we advance the council, that we once again bring in the media on that, and some of the issues that are going on, particularly our days of dialogue, and thus representation will be coveted, especially if journalists are trying to find out, what's going on with the council. I don't think we have any other choice. For even if it doesn't materialize, let's just say if it doesn't materialize, what has the council done to go ahead and make that a reality? And it doesn't point back at the council. Did the council do everything they could to create that space? If the answer is affirmative, then any type of piece that they would write, it won't fall on us. It'll fall onto the appointing authorities and or Senate and House. They will have to go ahead and answer to those type of matters because the council has done all they could to hold within their limited power to go ahead and hold individuals accountable. What's your thoughts?
The reason I was asking about whether there would be the age would be in attendance or a delegated authority is a participation piece. So obviously, if they just attendance, they're taking notes and taking it back. But if they have a delegated authority to participate in the council's activities and decision-making process.
Yeah, I know what you meant on that. So I know the bifurcation of the participation in the delegate authority. That's what I want to flesh out on our bylaws. I think that certainly those aides would know best what their senator or their representative wants. And certainly they can convey that to them. In many instances, they're doing the legwork anyway. You know, it's just for the senators and the representatives, it's just affirmative A, B, C, and D. And quite truthfully, when they say yes about any type of policy matter, they're the ones that's drafting and sending those things anyway. So I think that would be, I think for delegate authority, for those members in particular, I think that's appropriate.
My second thought on the subcommittee was about the media. I think it's a good idea. However, my thought would be that we flesh out this participation piece first, so the council's operation will be fluid by the time the media show up. I wouldn't want the media here, and we have this going on. I really think, just Mike's thoughts, that the operation was fluid. We got attendance, we got participation at that point in time.
So that's certainly my desire. And those participation of the media or the invite would be on those on those occasions where we have other individuals or a day of dialogue that is special. We've noticed that certainly we have a great idea of participation on our level, who's coming, and so there's no way I would put us in a situation where there's only God forbid 2 of us here and we're holding the whole water for everybody. But I think those are good points. Some of them has been under consideration. Now, what hasn't been under consideration is the delegate authority with the certainly with the legislative aides. I was thinking more so of the participation in there. But now, just thinking about it, that might be best to do that, and we should put that in our bylaws. So, although the state statute doesn't state that, I've always been under the impression of, just in my prior career, inductive and deductive reasoning. You can tell a story, even if it's not present or if it's not stated. And we can create what that narrative is until somebody says we cannot.
In reference to the media, I was just thinking of what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish. And when I think about our annual report, the real positive aspect of that, without really extending an invitation to the media, when we put this out there, when we invite others to share our website, we have to be aware that the media may invite themselves before we're ready.
Sure. No. That's careful consideration. That's how we operate in the sunshine laws, and certainly, we sometimes we can play a hand in their participation. As of right now, as you see, there's no media here, and it's been publicized. We got to give them something to care about too. Oftentimes, they're called. When the calls do come into our office, or they call me. Is generally, let's just say, not that they want to put a happy piece on. Let's just say that. And many times I'm explaining to them that we're reshaping the council in a different capacity, and certainly the last time that a piece was made on the council. And I'm not familiar who the organization was. It was when we were awarded the $350,000 budget. That was the last time and they were trying to figure out how come it took one that long, to what we were going to do with it, and what has been some of the issues. So with that being said, some dynamics have changed since then. But part of the problem was, our historical legacy problem has been a quorum. A quorum has been the existence of this council has been that issue alone. So, to change that means to just look at it in a different way. I understand what the state statute says, but I also understand what it doesn't say. And that interpretation, even the literal interpretation of what the state statute has in 16.6.5, it does not say that we cannot amend our bylaws or even add to our bylaws to have greater participation or even delegate authority for certain members, whether it be from the House or Senate in particular. The state agencies, by and large, are compliant, by and large, and that hasn't been too much of an issue. I ran into an issue here and there. My biggest issue so far has been right now, and I plan to figure out how to deal with this too, is the Department of Education. That has, I think it's safe to say that has been embroiled in some political issues, and there hasn't been really enough follow through on their part to address an appointment there, even with me calling several times, even with me calling and speaking with I believe the chief of staff. So that and asking to speak with the secretary or even the deputy secretary. That has fallen on deaf ears. However, I'm not deterred, and I'll be doing the same thing in this cycle. I'll be asking again. I'm cognizant of the election cycle that is. What year is it? if you really think about it. And this is a constant situation. If not, prepare for the next year, and the year before that, and the year after that. So that has been, you know, and for many of you who've been here, we haven't had an appointment since Dr. Drake and Graham left. And I've been trying ever since then. For the state agency portion of that, and this is just my opinion, and on the record, that is completely unacceptable. We are, as state employees, our job is to serve the citizens of Florida. I take that very seriously. Many of you, the same. And, you know, we're to answer our emails in a timely manner, return phone calls in a timely manner. We're guided by guidance from our agencies, our department heads, our assistant secretary, deputy secretaries, assistant secretaries, and up to the secretary. There's an expectation that we are responsible, and responsive. And, you know, that's my expectation. If every agency is like that, I don't think that changes. That is the desire of the governor's office for each and every one of us. In my agency, we have something called court flow, or any type of correspondence from the public that is called to the office or even to the governor's office. We have to respond to that within 24 hours, bar none. There is no exception to that. Somebody in our agency will respond to that individual no matter what the correspondence is, whether we can help or not. So, you know, on our end, you know, those are the same type of professional courtesies that, you know, we should enjoy with each of our sister agencies as we work together to advance this noble cause. This cause that we have here is to help every citizen in the state of Florida. You know, the negative, conditions that affect Black men and boys, if we're able to go ahead and in some small way, of course, we have to pass the baton from one council to another. But if we are able to go ahead and enact measures, some proposals, even, legislative policy, we have done our job. We have not only done our job, but the research that we do on a yearly basis, helps those numbers help support those narratives, so we can go ahead and do that type of change. And it takes all of our state agency collectively working together or in support of it in some way, somehow. So that, that has been an issue. And, I plan on to address that. But I think as far as the bylaws, I think that's an excellent point. We do need to go ahead and address that. And then have, I'm in the camp where I'll say sorry later and forgiveness. Ask for forgiveness. Especially if there is no pathway or no one has guided us and given any type of guidance to us to say that we can't. I think that we should. We adopt it. And then if it needs to be stricken, then have the legislative members strike it. And so what I'm really telling you is that I don't think even the office of the Attorney General can even strike what we feel as though that we could put in our bylaws for consideration, particularly if the state statute doesn't prohibit that. I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. And Ben, just to give you, get you up to speed as it comes to quorum, to make the request that our legislative members, if they're not in attendance, their legislative aides are in attendance. One of the good thoughts that Mike had was also to give them delegative authority. Although it does not state that in the Florida State Statute 16.615, we should put that provision in our bylaws.
We've had over the years, legislative aides to attend the meeting. We've had over the years the aides to attend the meeting, but I don't believe they were ever able to vote though. That was the issue. They attended to take the minutes for their person and report back. They reported out, but it's interesting, you know, I'm hearing you talking, and that's why I put my head down. I'm sorry. This has been an issue every year. It's 2024 now, 14 years for me. Every year. We've been trying to crack this here. We think we have momentum sometimes, and some years we just don't have momentum. And honestly, I don't have an answer, but I like where we're going. I do understand their calendar, their schedule. At the same time, my schedule's sort of busy also, you know. So give them that opportunity to have someone attend for them. I think that was always an option, but we need to make sure they not only attend, but they can vote. If that can happen, I think that could be a win for us.
Yeah, that's what I believe, but you know, I guess I'm taking the position that we've always, in some type of way or another, been told that the council, we can't do things. I want to know why. And if that is not sufficient, I still, if I'm taking the literal meaning of the Florida State Statute and we put it into our bylaws, that this is that every agency here that sits in this council that has authority now gives authority to those members. That will be their legislative aides. Why can't we? Who's going to stop us? More importantly, it's the legislative members that I can almost 100% say they will be in agreement with that. Wouldn't that be a boon for them if they cannot attend this meeting, but their legislative aide can, and then have delegated authority on their behalf upon that individual speaking with their particular senator that they work for or their representative? I don't see even the power of that even for a council. Because I keep on hearing from everybody, we can't. I've never heard it. I've never heard why not.
Maybe over the years, you know, and again, being been on longer than me, I was on and I left, same frustration, but I don't even, I guess it's a matter of a question. Have we asked in the past that when these delegations are made, let's have a delegate and an alternate delegate named in the delegation letter? Because in my understanding, at least for the state agency statute, is the agency head or a designee.
Mhm.
And that designee is done through that letter of delegation, specifically naming that individual as a delegate. Why not in that same letter have that specific individual, i.e. Mike Mason, Department of Health, delegated and on behalf of the state surgeon general, and the alternate delegate is John Doe named in that same letter. Therefore, and again, the attorneys have to look at it. Therefore, you have two individuals specifically named for the council. If Mike Mason cannot attend, I'm the primary delegate. It is my responsibility to contact that alternate delegate that can come and speak on behalf, vote, et cetera, for the Department of Health.
Even to go one better, the agency had delegated someone as the person for the board, but in that same letter of giving that delegate, that appointed person, the authority to delegate someone for a meeting, should they not be able to, as long as they officially submit in writing who their delegate is going to be to cover a meeting. Because I sit on other boards, as you said, and if I can't be there, if I put in writing that Jim Brown is going to be my representative for the January 25th meeting, and I get it in, he shows up with all of the rights and privileges that I would have. And I think that's would be better, or we need to put that in the bylaws, as well, that as long as a letter is received from the person on the board that John Brown is going to be my delegate for a specific date and meeting, that person would have the ability to vote. And it would, count. But when you say, because you're appointed and that second person, that agency head may appointed, chances are you're both wherever doing the same thing. It's important enough that you're both going to be there. But you may have someone that works under you that you trust enough to come. They know you and they would be your representative. So if the agency head is okay with that, trusting the person that they're appointing and giving them the authority to send delegates as needed for various meetings. So it may not be the same person all the time, because that second person may not be available, but giving you the authority to know who would be best, whatever location or whatever's going on, to handle it.
And maybe indicating that in the delegation letter, delegating.
Yeah.
If I'm delegated to that point, if I'm delegated for the Department of Health, in that same delegation letter, because at that point in time, the agency head, in this case, Surgeon General, giving me delegation to act in his stead on the council with all rights and privileges therein that he would have. Then in that same letter, giving me, again, the attorney's got to flesh it out.
Yeah.
Give me that same authority to delegate an alternate of my choosing if I cannot attend on a case-by-case basis. And so I like that even better. So that may do it, and then therefore, no agency has an excuse for someone not being there. In the event that, let's say in my case, there's continuous absence. At that point in time, when you send that letter as a chair to that agency head, in this case, he's going to contact me and say what's going on.
I want us to pause at this point because I want to get back to it. Sydney, if you could go ahead and take roll call the individuals online, because I believe the attorney is online and she'll want to start off with our sunshine laws explanation. So I want to get right back to that.
That's fine. Right. Lynette, you should be able to share your screen now. Let me connect us there.
You see,
Give me 1 second.
sure. Oops.
There we go.
Good morning, everybody. Are you ready? Would you like me to go ahead and do a presentation? Can everybody see
Good
it?
morning, Lynette. And thank you for taking part of your time this morning to help assist us.
Oh, my pleasure. I know Tim couldn't be with you, so I'm happy to fill in for him. We all end up with conflicts, and so just trying to everybody else. So my understanding is that you were interested in a presentation on the sunshine laws. And so that's what I have for you. And Sydney also has a copy of this brief presentation, which I told her she can distribute up to council members if they're interested. The topics for today are government in the sunshine, which would include public meetings and public records, and your statutory authority, which I'm sure you all know is section 16.615 Florida statute, which are quorum issues and your responsibilities. This little asterisk here, if you don't have the Florida statute bookmarked on uh, your web browser, uh, you can always just Google or Bing online sunshine. That's an easy thing to remember, online sunshine. And it will get you to this link, legislature, state, Florida, US. And you will have a menu that you can click. So you'll see that little reminder throughout. Okay, government in the sunshine. The Florida sunshine laws are controlled by chapter 286 Florida statute. And in a nutshell, government business must be open to the public. That really is sunshine. Included in that is that the public has access to government records. And there are also certain actions by council members that are prohibited because they might be in violation of this. So I'm going to say this a couple times. You'll get tired of hearing it probably. Council meetings must be open to the public. Reasonable notice of such meetings must be given, which is not less than 7 days, and minutes of the meetings must be taken. Now, your council office is going to take care of these things. They're going to make sure that the council meetings are open, public has notice, and minutes of the meeting are taken. But in case you want to call a meeting at the last minute and you say, oh, can we have a meeting tomorrow? You should know, understand that reasonable notice has to be given, and that takes at least 7 days. Not just the meetings, but all council business is open to the public. All official council business is limited to open meetings. Can you not do? Okay, no. Preliminary discussions among council members outside of the public meeting. It pertains to official business, things you're going to vote on, things that you're required to do by your statutes. No. Emails, texts, phone calls, or private business meetings among council members regarding matters that will come before the council for official action. You study up, take your own notes, be prepared for the public meeting, and then discuss everything at the public meeting without any behind-the-scenes input from other council members. No, you cannot ask staff to be an intermediary to contact and query other council members regarding their position on an issue. Just because you can't contact another council member directly behind the scenes doesn't mean that you can ask someone else to do it. That would be improper and that would be a violation of the Sunshine Laws. Yes, if you want to distribute information to the other council members, provide that information before a meeting to the council staff prior to the meeting, I already said that, for review and distribution to all council members along with other agenda materials. That makes sure that council members are not communicating with each other behind the scenes. And it also gives council staff a copy of what is to be presented at the meeting, and they can keep it as a public record. You may contact your attorney and ask about proper procedures. That is not a problem. Your attorney is not a council member, and they are there to assist. Any actions taken by the council in violation of Sunshine Laws are null and void. You just have to do it again following Sunshine Laws. And failure to comply with the Sunshine Laws and a non-criminal fine up to $500 and a knowing violation of the Sunshine Laws is the second degree misdemeanor. So it's good to stay on top of what's required of you by the Sunshine Statute. Public records are part of the Sunshine Laws. Public records are controlled by Chapter 119, Florida statutes. All documents, papers, letters, maps, books, tapes, photographs, films, sound recordings, data processing software, or other material regardless of physical form, characteristics, or means of transmission made or received pursuant to law or ordinance in connection with the transaction of official business by any agency of public record, except as excluded by law. Now, what might be excluded by law? A public record in its entirety is not excluded by law. It can be in its entirety, it can be redacted with certain information. Social security numbers, for example, addresses, law enforcement, personnel, medical histories. There's certain things that by statute are exempt from public records, and those simply get redacted. The Office of the Attorney General does have a public records office, and they do a lot of that work for you, and they work with you if you have a public request. The Florida Supreme Court has interpreted the foregoing definition to encompass all materials made or received by an agency in connection with official business, which are used to perpetuate, communicate, or formalize knowledge. So that's kind of a summary of that definition earlier. Regarding public records, notes to yourself that are designed solely for your own personal use in remembering certain things and that are not shared with others do not fall within the definition of public record. The minute you share something with another member of the council or staff, it's a public record. It would not be appropriate for you to share your personal notes with another council member, but it is appropriate for you to voice your thoughts on the record at a meeting. Your statutory authority. Now, I know this is an issue that you are working on, and hopefully can get it updated. Section 16.615 currently requires that the council conduct official business with a statutory quorum of no fewer than 11 members. The concurring vote of a majority of the members present is required to make a decision. And often the case, if there's a tie vote, if it's urgent or under a deadline, typically the council or other board or commission will continue deliberating until a decision is reached. If it's not urgent or under a deadline, of course, the council may table that matter for another meeting as appropriate. Your responsibilities are set forth by statute. I'm sure you are well aware of these. They cover collections, your studies and reports, and you do require them in Florida. Any questions?
Yes, I can send it out.
Okay, good. Lynette, we don't have any questions at this particular time. We're appreciative of your presentation. Most of the members here, I don't believe we have any new members. So, we really appreciate this version of which you were able to talk to us about. Many of us are, have been in state government for many years. So, nonetheless, we still appreciate it. And it's the very first business meeting of each and every year during session that we have this component in our agenda. And we thank you once again.
Okay, well, anything you need, let us know. Have a great
Thank you, Lynette, and please thank you also. I really appreciate that.
No problem, my pleasure. Take care.
Okay, at this time, let's take a 15-minute break. What time is it? 10:15. Let's get back here at 10:30. Ben, let's start on your budget, and then let's get back to the bylaws and what we were discussing prior to that, if that's okay with you. Yeah. Have you reviewed it? I call it 10:30. Can we start at 10:25? Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, that's not a problem. Okay, we'll get back together at 10:25. Are we on?
Yes, we're back on the record.
Okay, thank you, Sydney. Ben, if you could just read out the budget.
Morning all. Council budget, you guys have a copy of the budget, maybe you have it, but it's dated January 12th. That means this budget is as of December 31st. So look at, that means we're in July, August, September. So we use 6 months of our budget. I want to start with our largest category, which is OPS. OPS, we're allotted $122,576,000. And you look to the far right, we have a balance of 64,000. So if you just, like I mentioned before, since we use 6 months of it, that's half of it. So since we're have a little bit more than half, we're looking pretty healthy in the OPS budget area. If there's no additional changes, bringing anyone on additionally, we have sufficient budget in the OPS category. Next one is the expense. You look at the expense. The total expense that we had allocated was $17,624,000. And can't see it on there, but if you go to the next screen, slide, for expense, on the far right, that says the allotment balances. We have $9,286. So once again, that's more than half of budget still remaining. So we're pretty healthy on the expense. And which is a good thing now. We have this need here, possible travel. I can't remember off the top of my head, Chair, any additional travel we have from February until June that may require us spending expense dollars. But since we only spent less than half of it, we're fine there. Only concern, and I'm pretty sure there's an answer for it, is the contract services. We're only allotted $20,000, and we have expenditures of $19,306. We only have $522. So there's no additional plans to spend contract services dollars the remainder of the fiscal year. We're fine, but we can't do anything additional with contract service dollars. So we only have $522. I'm pretty sure the $19,000 is part of our plan that we had to use this year. So I don't think there's any other additional plans for contract services dollars. I think we could be good there. So overall, budget looks healthy. We had $160,000 total allocated to the council. And spent so far the $85,581. That leaves us a net $74,552.
Any questions from the members? The answer to your question, and I'll go ahead and address members too. The contracted service dollars, when we first given the budget, was much more robust than that. It turned out to be that there were the Office of the Attorney General had added responsibilities that they had under their umbrella, and we had to absorb for that budget. So I believe that the contracted service dollars was twice as much or even more than that. So that was an area of concern that set off a bunch of bells that really had us a little bit concerned. Although we are at 522 in contracted service dollars, we for the next 6 months, we're at. I think we're very healthy as it relates to where we're at. My concern, when we had a budget initially, was how the council can responsibly spend those dollars in our budget, and that we use it all. In years past, we gave a great chunk of it back, and and thus there was no real argument to go ahead and raise that because we weren't even able to spend the little bit that we have. Um, those days are now gone. We could easily, uh, even with the contracted service dollars, we can easily bump that up additional $50,000 to $75,000, and that's being conservative. I can see where we can contract with a few entities that could be raised even further as we can get additional help for research. And so that is my desire for this next budget coming. It is to make the argument why we need additional monies, particularly for contracted service dollars that we believe we had in the beginning of the fiscal year, but now we have to absorb in terms of salaries of our staff. So that's where we're at there. $74,552 is where we're at there. Of course, we will have another meeting as we fill out our statutory duties. And that's part of what I do want to discuss, how we go about, what are some of the things that we're thinking about as we pick out the proposal of this topic that we have, and we'll bring that up later today. So that's what we have for the budget. So before we get back to the bylaws, I think that this will be an appropriate time to honor the staff. If you take a look at the annual report, it is the most unique, well built out annual report that we've ever done, bar none. The collaboration, the skill sets of our research coordinator, Yada Kane, the assistance of Sydney Griggs, Natalie Logan, and Terrell Nelson brought this annual report to national recognition from the Commission of the Social Status of Black Men and Boys. That unit is housed out of the Civil Rights Office in Washington, D.C. It is led by Representative Frederica Wilson. Her son, as you know, used to be a member of this council, Paul Wilson. It is her leadership, her introduction, along with, at the time, State Senator Marco Rubio, that who co-sponsored this, was what we were able to create this council that was enacted in 2006. With her leadership, as she went on to member as the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C., it was her once again that led the charge for the Commission on the Social Status of Black Men and Boys, which had their inaugural opening 3 years ago. And members of both the House and Senate sit on that now, and they're doing great work. To be recognized by our federal partner, and it is one of many accomplishments of that day. It speaks to the meetings that we have, the discussions that we have in these meetings are all absorbed by our staff, and naturally they outwardly extend what our desires are and to put this into an annual report. I would be remiss to thank each and every one of you for your contributions and for our incredible staff at the Office of the Attorney General, being namely ours, also with the support of litigation services. I can't thank you enough for what you do, the time, dedication. It's not easy to in many ways, we're asking you to do more, and you always respond in kind to go ahead and put those things out. You know, it also affirms the council's decision on these appointments of having an executive director, having a research coordinator. These were some of our desires that we wanted. And this is a byproduct of this. Certainly as collectively as members, in years past, we had to contribute a great deal for writings and so on and so forth to submit. And quite truthfully, when I became chair, I wanted to change that dynamic. And that dynamic was realized when we were able to get staff, full-time staff, to assist us to do that, as opposed to our first day jobs and then trying for us to go ahead and give them, additional information from our agencies. Certainly, we can grab that information, and our staff can go ahead and turn that out, and certainly bring out a product that is worthy, for recognition. So, my thoughts are the same as we were very lucky to retain Yada Kane, have the designation that she once held, and then of course, which is her natural wheelhouse anyway, to keep her in research as the coordinator in that situation. I want to say a special thanks to Sydney Griggs publicly. Ms. Griggs was hired initially, as you might remember, as a research assistant. Beknownst to us about the budget wasn't what we thought it was. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to think about it, Michelle Blandon decided to go ahead and go to a different position. And it opened up a position where she was at. There was a decision to be made right prior to Michelle leaving that that we could not absorb the research assistant salary. Something had to give. So I approached Ms. Griggs and asked her, would she consider taking on the assistant position, the administrative assistant position. Understanding and then having full knowledge that she was once hired as a research assistant, and that would be a sacrifice. My concern primarily was that, and this is no indictment on her, but a lot of young people with a title designation such as that, they may look at that as a step down. And I assured her that her contributions as administrative assistant to grow in that position, that we could go ahead and satisfy several things for her. professionally and personally. She was gracious enough to take on that responsibility, and the council is better for that today. That takes a lot of courage to step out on a leap of faith, especially when you desire to. And your angle was when you first came to the council, and a position description that was totally different from what is she doing now. So I want to say thank you, Sydney, on behalf certainly of the executive director, and for every single member of this council. Your sacrifice and your attitude, your can-do attitude, speaks well to the council, and we appreciate your effort. We know that it was it meant a lot. Just put it that way. So congratulations on your part, and I wanted to publicly go ahead and say that. As far as the incredible leadership. Each and every year that I've been on the council, our annual reports were always saved by Yada Kane in some capacity or another. What she was able to go ahead and able to do with some of the deadlines we broke deadlines, submissions were late of all sorts, maybe some of the content wasn't quite where we needed to be before an annual report. Yada has shown her expertise in always creating an annual report that was above the mark. And certainly we've always appreciated that, and it was one of the reasons why, as a council, we were so supportive in her being in that position. And so what it really turned out to be thereafter was, now that she was in this position, her first year of really on a full-time basis working on this annual report, you don't even have to look at the first few pages to know the type of work she was able to put in, and how it really stands out, even from other annual reports that I thought were well. This was one of the intentional marks that we were trying to hit, as we wanted to go ahead and be more cognizant of the annual report and how we can influence policy in the future, with certainly a snapshot of some of the measures that we were able to go ahead and that was extrapolated from the research that we did that year. And she certainly characterized that. I mean, all the way down to litigation support, really helping to assist to put barcodes onto our annual report, to have a fold-out layout that was separate in that manner. It really shows the skill sets and the opportunity that if you give individuals that time and grace, what they can really do. And we don't want to take that for granted, for sure. On top of it, that we also knew that her her historical knowledge of what the council was, because she's been here for such a long time, was going to be a benefit to the council, and it certainly shows. So I want to go ahead and say, a personal thank you, for what you were able to do, and it really did help us, on a national level, be not recognized in that. To have that consideration is something that we've never had before on the council. So we appreciate your leadership, and we're very happy about that. We're also very excited and happy about the leadership of Jerome Nelson. You know, as a first-time executive director, to bring all this all together, you know, in just dealing with all the things that an executive director has to do, you know, it really, that's not lost on me either, you know. It's almost, you know, on-the-job training, if you will. You know, trying to go and figure certain things out. There's certainly some challenges. And we thank him also. He's remote right now. We wish him well and his wife well. They're both sick. But they're on the mend. And our anticipation is he'll be back on Monday to take swings at the apple. So I just wanted to go ahead and recognize our staff for really doing a phenomenal job. And if your secretary heads, if your department heads, take a look at this annual report. You know, for some of our other departments in our agencies, I think that this report rivals anything that we've been able to do individually, collectively as an agency, what we want to put out for agency missions and so on and so forth. This rivals it. You know, whether you have you know, like support in media, print, press. Some departments have that, some agencies have that. I know certainly it rivals anything that we put out for the citizens of Florida. So I'm ecstatic about that. I really am. And I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. You really made the council stand out, and you know, to put us on that type of national spotlight. I can't wait to work with you again this year, and for you know, hopefully years to come. So thank you once again. Anybody else have any other thoughts about that? Certainly wanted to give them their flowers while they were here. Yeah. Just outstanding. Switching back over to certainly looking at the bylaws and particularly our quorum issue. As you saw, Ms. Nam was had mentioned showed a couple of lines there, and one of the lines certainly was you know, council members being present, and or the majority of the members. One of the things that when I kept on reading and kept on flushing this out, particularly with the former attorney, Erica Hill, was how she saw certain things, how I saw certain things. And one of the things that could not be explained was what constitutes a member. So a secretary head, naturally, it falls on them. They delegate their authority to someone else. With that delegation, you are able to go ahead as a representative of that particular agency and whatever you believe is in the best interest of the council as a whole. Not so much the agency, but the council as a whole, affirmative or not, you make that decision. It did not say, in addition to that, as the premises of our voting, it did not say you could not delegate that authority if you were not present or could be present to someone else. That it doesn't say that there. So what I like to do, and I'm sure that in some of the discussions that we have, is I like to start on the bylaws of addressing that. But more importantly, once we're able to flush that out and throw that into our bylaws, I also like to rewrite all of our appointing authorities. For the ones that are standing, thank them, explain to them that we seek to have, there's additional responsibilities that was crafted by the bylaws. And that delegation, we understand that with state government in particular, that their representation may be pulled back depending on the agency needs and emergencies around the state of Florida. Certainly, we've seen that over and over again. Particularly during natural disasters, we're all pulled from what we're doing, and there's got to be some adjustment of some sort. That doesn't mean that the business of the state stops and stands still. Certainly, we're pulled for many of us who are in, department heads of units and so on and so forth. Our leadership is required on the first job, certainly. But that doesn't abdicate our responsibilities to have someone else in our place to assist. And some of those responsibilities take weeks of our time as we're trying to flush out certain matters. Then we have the issue too of as of right now, and this has not changed from the past 2 or 3 months, with the exception of some agencies and departments, we're still running about close to a 25% vacancy rate across the board on them. That is presenting its own challenges in that end of it. I can tell you, me in particular, my roles and responsibilities have grown because we don't have the necessary personnel. We aim to take care of that, but even I've seen our HR department hit. And so it's been tough to replace certain individuals in HR. Obviously, it trickles down to field offices and so forth. So I think that this is a necessary component of advancing the agenda of the agencies that are on the council. And like I said, I think that if we don't do something like this, I don't want to waste the talent that we have. Certainly, I don't want to waste that. And they come up with great ideas, we flush them out, we certainly go in and try to put out great content and the input of this council to go ahead and be free-willing in their thoughts and where in the direction that they would like to see this council go, should maintain in that capacity. That is one of the fundamental changes. And then our staff will be able to coalesce that and bring out a great product. So that's what I like to change on the bylaws. Of course, now it becomes what type of language we want to put in here. And so that's what I like to address now, is what type of language do you want to put on there? What's best? Do we, because if we take a look here at members and articles, certainly it's some things are addressed. Sydney, for the lack of my eyesight, I do understand there's a section 3, but I cannot see other than, I think that's quorum of the full council?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Could you read that for us?
Yes, I can. Give me 1 second.
Oh, that's a lot better.
Here you go.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's what 51 looks like. 11 of the members of the council shall constitute a quorum, and an affirmative vote of the majority of the members present is required for final action. Formal action by the council may be taken by majority vote of those members present at any meeting, provided a quorum of the council is present. Things we cannot change is things being present. We cannot change that. Majority vote, we can't change that. Quorum, being 11. But there is nothing that addresses members. That's what I want to attack. Do we go about, and I'm willing to hear, do we go about identifying naturally constitute what members are? How would we attack that? With that delegation authority, of course, in mind. Yeah.
Yes, and how we attack it in the bylaws, attack it in.
Yeah, sure. How would you like to attack it in the bylaws?
You can do an amendment when you send it to section 3. And as an attachment, because they're in place for, we're going to just amend the change. You add the paragraph of what we said in terms of the delegated, if you want to say member, appointed by their department heads, has the ability, or I don't know if you want to say authority, because we have to sit and ask for the appointment letter, to provide or delegate another person to act in their stead with all voting rights and authority. And I would add, and put in writing prior to the meeting or whatever it is that's going to take place. So if I knew that we were having this meeting today and I was not going to be here to assist you, yes, I don't think it's.
Just press and hold it.
Oh, you got a question?
I got it. To assist today, then prior to today, and you can specify a time, you're just gonna have to give a little detail, a week prior or whatever number of days prior that I provide written notice, and you can come up with a form that you fill in the blank, and with the signature, with the terminology that I, Justine Patterson, delegate Marcus Mason with all authority to attend January 25th meeting to participate in my stead, or, with all rights, whatever the legal terminology we need to come up with, submit that. Staff have it on file, it's in our records, then that person would be here and they could vote. It certainly would be someone that I trust, that I have held conversations about, and it would help if we knew, and you send the agenda out in advance. So I can actually have a conversation with them about whatever is on the agenda and my thoughts, or, in terms of voting.
Okay.
Just so that.
I have a question. And this is probably going back a little bit into the weeds a little bit, but the number 11, does that constitute like 2/3 of the number? I mean, where does that number?
The state statute. Yeah, they put that number into the, they put that number as part of the quorum, 11 out of 19.
So, but if you don't have 19 active members, that kind of nullifies the 11.
You would think that, right?
Well, that's a question.
Right. Well, the question is,
They're still looking for
Yeah.
the 11
yeah,
on whatever we do.
yeah.
So we're trying to get around that.
Right, that's what I'm saying, so I'm just trying to just have some.
That's what we're
idea.
doing. The hardcore number is 11 by state statute, so we're tied to that. That we can't change. However, it also in the statute, it says agency heads, department heads, or their delegate. So that would be a member, agency head would be a member. And if they choose to have a delegate, certainly that person then becomes a member. And they have full voting rights and authority to act as a member. What hasn't been addressed and what I'm challenging is for that member. Many times in our agencies, we give a report or explain to our upper management and let them know what we've done in the council. These are the decisions, so on and so forth. Some do, some don't. Okay, but I haven't seen anything in state statute that limits our ability now that you have delegated authority. That if you can't attend a meeting, that it necessarily has to be you. It says member. And if we delegate authority to a member that is going to participate on that board for that time, as Justine was specifying, should that suffice? And I don't see where we can't. I've looked, I've even went into Robert's order, how they phrase it, and even with Robert's order, taking a look at how they have that set up, it's ambiguous there because they speak a lot about the majority. We were pigeonholed in this state statute with 11. So 11 will get them. If I can't change that number on the state statute, that's fine. But there's no identification, there is no definition in regards for members. Because what you're doing is, if the state agency head is delegating their authority and responsibility to you on behalf, and I send out a letter to those appointing authorities with the argument that, yes, in per statute, this is where we're at on that. However, we understand that the growing responsibilities of each and every agency that sometimes are delegated members may be pulled away from certain meetings, just like in any other task force, any other council, and board meetings. People have alternate members. And they're attending for those individuals who can't come there. I know certainly that I do in all my task force meetings and other councils and LCD board meetings and so on and so forth that I attend. There's always a delegate for me. Yeah.
I think we may be overthinking a little bit. I think all the definitions that Ms. Tyson explained, yes, they need to be defined somewhere. I think trying to that kind of detail in the bylaws, maybe should not say something, i.e., what constitutes a member is pretty much already outlined in the statute. It's the agency head, or the delegate. So I don't think we have to address it in the bylaws. I think to address it, since the agency head has the authority to delegate someone on their staff, they should also have authority to delegate that authority to their delegate. I.e., in the case of, let's say, myself, for instance, the agency head delegated me to act on his behalf on the council. Given the fact that we're trying to address a quorum issue, so at that point in time, he delegated me to be a member of this council. He the only one for that agency has that authority. Also, can in that same delegation delegate the authority to me. It's like extended alternate delegation, in case I can't. So I think we may be, and I don't foresee, unless the attorneys, get any kickback on that. I don't see, because actually it is a big business, I don't see any reason why. But I think because we can go through all of the bylaws and put those kind of specifics and definitions, but once we do that, we kind of pigeonhole ourselves. I see. In my opinion. So, but defining that delegation in that delegated authority letter, maybe, but in terms of, trying to outline that delegate's responsibilities, it's almost kind of this, contained therein. Once he delegates me, I have all those authorities that I can have in council. Right. If I have delegated authority to delegate an alternate in my state, if I can, all that authority is also delegated. Sure. I don't think it needs to be defined in this point. Okay.
But we don't have that in place currently, so you're going to have to. Because technically now I'm looking at the statute, if we all, each of us, state agencies, who are mostly the ones who come, have that ability, we really don't need the Senate and the rest of it. You see what I'm saying? But if I can't come, you can't come, if we can appoint someone, we are now appointed, but that has not been stated to our agency head. So now you have to go back and have asked for, in order to make it, I wouldn't want to just take it upon myself to say that Secretary Dixon understood it. Understands it. I would not want to say that. I would want him to know. You appointed me. Now they're asking, so you need amended appointment letters with that verbiage in there for the state agencies.
Right.
Now that by itself, if all of the agency heads agree, you're getting around the others. But you gotta go back and so if you don't want to do it here, just to put that 1 or 2 lines in there on 3, or wherever you want to put it, then you gotta go back, or at the next appointment cycle, ask that the verbiage be added to the letters, in the appointment. And I don't know where we are in that cycle.
Okay.
Well, that was just the communication from you as the chair. That exact same communication was suggested from you as the chair to the agency heads and other delegated authorities.
Correct.
Saying this is the direction the council wants to go. So in your delegation, to i.e. your individuals, also what we requested is the alternate delegations.
Right.
And that's all they need to know.
Okay.
Because once they do the alternate delegation, as the council, we understand the authority that individual has. Okay. So no, I'm 100% with you.
Okay. Okay.
I just missed that part. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to go back.
Okay. So what I'll do is,
where are we in the cycle of the appointment?
you see, that's the thing.
2 years in?
2 or 3 years in, but here's, once again, I always come back to who's going to check us. I've, in years past, of course, people leave the council and so on and so forth, and we ask those requests at that point in time. There's nothing that precludes us for writing new ones and saying, for the ones who are already with us at the council, and just go ahead and say, these members are attending, but at the same time, the council is going in this direction. And could you please appoint ABC?
Yeah, all of us are on different cycles, obviously.
Right.
All of us should have copies, again, I guess a strategy or a process for doing what we're suggesting. All of us should have copies of our delegation letters, right? You look at mine and say, you know, you can just do another delegation letter for the remainder of the time, for the remainder of my appointment, and also for the remainder of that appointment, the whole alternate delegation that we're talking about. And so when my time come around again, let's say maybe 2 years from now, or whatever it is, there'll be a same delegation letter of the last amended one. And so the new person is somebody else, and that happened to be me. It's started at that point in time. So there would be specific letters of delegation, specific letters to all the agency heads to alter and change their current letters of delegation to accommodate those who become incumbent.
Right. Anybody else have any thoughts? Does that sound like something we can do?
Yeah, it just slows us down. Like, we still can't get anything done right now.
Yeah. So what I like to do is within the next 10 business days, craft that up. It won't take me that long, but I'll craft that up. I'll send it to you individually so you can take a look at it. I don't want to wait till the next meeting, for that to us to say, hey, this was good, that looks down. Of course, whether it be Sydney or Terrell, thumbs up, thumbs down. If there needs to be a course correction that you see, let's go ahead and do that at that time, let them know. And once everything is looks copacetic, I'll have that signed and I'll send it out to the appointing agencies for that. And then I'll let you know, of course, I'll let you know when we're sending that out. And it won't be so much of it won't be so much as of may, it'll be so much as this is the direction where the council wants to go. Please appoint that. I think that is because one of the things I've learned as being council chair too is that when we do that, may you, and so on and so forth, it lingers and nobody really takes it by the bull, and we wait, or other people wait, or other people don't want to step on toes, and especially if we give them direction, guidance on that, they're more apt to go ahead and do it as opposed to that. And so if you're all in agreement with that, we'll craft that. We'll send that to all the appointing agencies. For the individuals who are not participating, this will give, like the agency I spoke about, this will give me another chance to ask for an appointment and for them to go ahead and select, a designee member and also their alternate. So that'll be easier on that end of it. It actually gives me another avenue to solicit their participation on that agency. So I think that there's a lot to be said with what Mike is saying too. That if we start defining that in the bylaws, we could find ourselves challenged. And we want to put ourselves in a position that, which was the spirit of this council in the first place, was to go ahead and collectively come together to mutually move ahead with the council's agenda, which we're doing in earnest by addressing this matter, so we can get the council work done. And our decisions, because we're all placed in a position of trust and decision making, that we have done just that. So I'll go ahead and craft that and make that a reality for us. On the separate end of it, naturally, I will be writing also for our representatives that their legislative aid is because somebody answered this for me. More times than not, I've only known one legislative aid to one legislative member. But are there multiple ones, depending on,
Mhm.
do we know that?
Yeah.
There are?
Mhm.
Okay. Knowing that information, that's even better, to have them. And I think that's best practice on what we should do. So, okay. I think we're set on that end of it there. So, until that moment, the council election, as the members that we have, I know each and every year at this time, I submitted to Sydney a letter of for the committee for the council election members. And I believe somewhere in the bylaws, it does give me authority to appoint people in absence of for those for the committee or at least for the executive committee selections on that end of it. So at this point in time, we don't have a quorum for the election. So all the officers that have that designation right now, under the authority of the bylaws, they will remain until further notice. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts about that? And at some point in time, I think there was a discussion with Erica Hill when we are able to get a quorum, then we can go ahead and proceed. But at this point in time, given what the bylaws are asking me or asking the council to do, we will keep everything the same and go from there. So we did our due diligence by appointing, having a nomination committee. We put that slate in for Sydney. Sydney, you have that. As it stands. We will have the vice chair sign off on that once we get a quorum for submission. And then we'll go ahead and keep the elected members as is. So we got that business taken care of. We did the budget review. At this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and take a motion for the approval of the council meeting minutes in December, I believe it was. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take any motion on that. Any second? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion's moved. So that's approved. All right, we're getting to 11:30. It's really up to you. I want to go ahead and leave this up to you. We can power through the next two. The next two are really about the website and social media, and to come up with the choosing of the annual report topics of mental health. The staff has, and I agree, that mental health right now, if we switch gears from the HBCUs, the great work that we did there to illustrate those matters, as we fundamentally had changed the council, we wanted to go ahead and take a look at and put all our energies into taking a look at mental health this year. So if you don't mind, we can either take a break, lunch break for 2 hours. That will put us back at here at 1:30, but I think we can get done with our work well before 1:30. Or truthfully, I mean, I really can see 12:30 in our future, and then we can adjourn for the day. What says you? You want to keep moving? Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and do that. If you don't mind, Sydney, could you pull up our website?
Mhm. Give me 1 second. Let me make sure my screen is sharing. All right.
Okay, we're appreciative of the website and how it looks. I met with staff on Monday in regards to the website and some of the changes I like to see on the website. One of the things that irked me was particularly if you take a look at About Us, Council History, Council Research, I'm expecting a uniform type of look across the board there. We have a missing down caret, if you will. I like to switch that over, where the resources over, so it can be congruent with the first part of that. It's little minor things, but I think that, I want to aesthetically make this certainly our website pop a little bit more. I think we need to be intentional a little bit more in regards to our press releases. I did ask the Office of the Attorney General to go ahead and put out a press release last year. For whatever reason, that wasn't done. So on our website, we will go ahead and put our own press releases and put that out onto our website. So if there are matters that we deem that it could be for public consumption, even our press releases, even to like for a day of dialogue or something of that matter, we can go ahead and present it at that time. If we can go a little bit further down, we're trying to. Some of the pictures are stale, and certainly I put up other pictures. Certainly I submitted other pictures of what we've done recently within the past year. That needs to go up there. At some point in time, I want to go ahead and get a picture of Terrell Nelson, and certainly with his award that he was able to receive at the 8th annual or 8th Black Mental Health Symposium. So I do want to put that up there. If you can go down a little bit more. Latest news, we'll change that. Obviously, we want to go ahead and put the letter that was submitted by the commission. We want to highlight that, put that up there in latest news. And we'll push all those down. They'll be part of our historical portion of our website, but we will change that in its nature. Let's go down a little bit further. The scholarship, I have been in touch with Dr. Renee within the past couple weeks via text. We've missed each other on phone calls. So next week, I wanted to do it this week, but with all the things that are going on, being up here in Tallahassee next week, I will give them a call to go ahead and now that we have a fiduciary to go ahead and a fiduciary that the Office of the Attorney General has approved of. Now we're going to go ahead and be able to get civic funds to this fiduciary now. That should be of no issue or problem at this point in time. So we're happy that they were able to sign off on that. Naturally, the HBCU tour, research tour, we're going to go ahead and put our next topic up there so people will be able to see what we're working on there. That'll change in its review. Of course, that'll stay the same. And do we have our handles on there, our social media handles?
Not yet.
In the first, that will change too. I would like to see our YouTube, our X, our Facebook. Do we have Instagram?
Yeah, and LinkedIn.
Yeah, and LinkedIn. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
those handles need to be certainly in the front of that. You get to go ahead and take that as an action item on that end of it. Certainly, I want people to take a look at our council research. I thought that this was a tremendous upgrade as we did the college experience there as a supplemental to our annual report. And it used to be, if we go a little bit down, that we had there were just blocks of just their pictures. That wasn't sufficient. So I had them change to the name and what their participation was in the video. That's a lot more cleaner, and it makes sense. Now that I'm taking a look at Tony, I think at this point in time, I want to go ahead and put out in the public record, I want to go ahead and thank Tony Cruz for his participation on the council. Tony Cruz was able to take an upward gain with his new position outside, and he is working with, I believe, APD now. So I want to congratulate Tony publicly for the work that he's done and the help he's done and the participation. And we will be seeking to appoint someone else in Tony's stead. So I just want to say thank you to Tony. So that's pretty much what I want to go ahead and highlight. There's other things on here that I won't bore you about that goes on the website, but I wanted to refresh this, if you will, so we could be as current as we are with the issues that we're taking a look at. Does anybody have any thoughts about the matter or wanted to chime in about what we maybe could do or improve? All right. I don't know if any of you were able to take a look at our Instagram handles, see some of our research. All of our illustrious faces were on there with our bios. So I just wanted to tell you that now we are social media stars, and we'll see how that goes. We've been putting out content naturally, all areas concerning the council. Naturally, we're very methodical on what we put out there. Nothing controversial, absolutely. I know the positions that we are in. However, this is just an informative mechanism with how culture views social media and its importance in culture. And we should always be on the forefront of that. So those are some of the handles on there. We'll change that designation from state little birdie and change it to X. And I think that will be appropriate at that time. Yes, Mike.
Who will take lead on
We've asked Sydney Griggs taking the lead on that. Yes.
that? I'm old now, I'm on Facebook.
Sure.
Would you guys like to see any of the posts we've made? I believe LinkedIn we might be able to get on
Please,
YouTube.
please. Would you?
Okay. Let's see. There we go. This is our LinkedIn page so far. Then
Play that video so I can be embarrassed.
it actually links to our YouTube, which you can find our unplugged video.
Hello, my name is Jerome. I'm the chair of the Florida Council on Social Status of Black men and boys. Welcome to our platform. The council is comprised of 19-member board of private sector experts, bipartisan legislative members of the House and Senate, state agency and department heads or their delegates. The council researches conditions negatively affecting Black males in the state of Florida, as proposed measures and recommendations for legislative action or non-legislative action. Council issues its annual report stating the findings, conclusions, and recommendations of the council. For more information, please follow our other platforms and our website. Thank you. Good? Okay. Different hair tint, my double chin, me looking into the distance. Boy, it was unbelievable. And, no, I want to go ahead and thank the good people of Litigation Support who put that together. I did that yesterday morning, and they turned it around in a couple hours doing all that. I don't know if we have any pictures behind the scene. They had a green screen behind me.
Yeah, I think I have one.
Put all that stuff on there. So it was one of the desires. Yeah, there we go. It was one of the desires that Pat Smith wanted, that we do more content of that sort. So we were able to figure out that I could set up this green screen in Miami, send them up a video, and they'll go ahead and do the rest of it, and go from there. So that was refreshing. There was probably other messages that I'll have, Terrell Nelson do, and explanations. Even we'll have Yana Kane, we'll have City Griggs do certain pieces. So it's just not one person. There's just many. And feel free to contact, them too. If you can get over to the office of the Attorney General. And I brought my own camera to do the filming. But I don't know if it's like if Litigation Support has their camera. I'm sure they do. But if there is, if you don't mind, if we see something that we feel as though that will be coming better from you, and you like to participate because I can't be the only person on video. I like to go ahead and highlight, our members too. Let's go ahead and do that. Boy, am I short. That's pretty bad. So this is some of the things that, right.
Things in life we cannot change the
Right. Platform shoes. Prince had platform shoes. Let's go back up to Yada's picture. Isn't that amazing? Look at that. Look at that. Or, right. Oh, sorry about that, Yada. I got you back there. So we got that. But that LinkedIn looks really good. Is that okay for everybody? Mm-hmm. That's probably the only thing we can show other YouTube and LinkedIn because the others are not permissible on state computer, or can we?
Yeah, I
Oh,
believe,
you can? Okay.
I believe so.
Yeah,
Let's see.
really?
Yep. So here's our Instagram.
Just think it's something to be really proud, to have that type of pride. And I think when we get new members, you want to change that up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Can
Go
you make
ahead.
that picture?
Send it to me.
Submit it, she'll submit in the picture and we'll just replace that.
Okay.
It's the one that's, I just saw. The person is,
The LinkedIn one?
no, it wasn't the link.
Right.
Oh, was it on our website?
I think on the one on the website. No, that's not it.
You want that changed too, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just go ahead and send it to me, and I can change it for you.
Okay.
Yeah. But
It's on one of the, those are ones they have. It's where you were showing the, our position.
it was which one?
It was, what did we look at first? We looked at the was it the regular website?
Yeah, the regular website was the first one we were looking at.
Okay.
Oh, you're talking about all the way down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, so go to our website all the way down at the front page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the executive committee picture she's talking about.
This one?
That.
You
Okay.
want that?
Okay.
So be it. It's done. Yeah. Vice chair wants it. The vice chair is going to get it. That's what she wants. Right.
The other one is, that's from FDC.
Is that right? Okay.
That's a look I need to have.
Okay.
See, but no, I won't do it.
Mike and Barbara, your pictures are okay? Okay. So that Instagram, go back to that. Just starting out naturally, but it tells a story. Of course, I want to build that up. But we should be proud because it's this group here that created, voted for the social media aspect of this, and it's something that we can talk about later on in terms of when there's future councils that they can use this apparatus, and it was something that we had a hell on being the first members to use this platform. Do we have anything about that?
I think we're still updating our, let me believe, X and Facebook. We have to, those two are still being updated.
Okay.
But LinkedIn, Instagram are the top two that are the most up to date.
Okay. Okay. Well, that just gives you a preview of what we got, and certainly a long way where we were 2 years ago. And so we're well on our way in terms of doing what we had intended for the council to be in the message we want to get out. So we do have that. So thank you, Sydney, on that part of it. Let's go back to, I'd like to talk about the 2024 annual report topic of mental health. Certainly we can talk about all aspects of mental health, but I just wanted to leave the discussion for us that, being the last subject we're going to talk about for today, is the mental health aspect. Does anybody have any issues about going and addressing mental health in any way? Okay. Last year, I was lucky enough to where Terrell was able to be awarded a plaque. I was also able to go to the same meeting he went to at the 8th Black Mental Health Symposium. And it was really eye-opening to see all those experts, professionals, and practitioners speak about the issues of mental health and, quite truthfully, how the problem is growing and maybe have been accelerated by factors such as COVID and some of the issues that people were coming out and dealing with post-COVID. Losses of position, of course, the job market changed, the gig economy became roaring and it started its dominance, and which actually is affecting state government in some ways with its vacancy rate. How some people had to now care for elderly parents. We lost a ton of people because of COVID. How daycares had to shift. How adult children now are caring for their elderly parents now that one of them had passed away. That was unexpected. And it goes on and on and on, and how that has shaped. And then the proliferation each and every year of these tragic mass shootings that keep on coming and coming and coming. And for those individuals who become numb to it, but are you really numb to it? Or it has torn communities apart, particularly families apart, and how that has manifested, year after year in those individuals and how they outwardly express or deal with things, and in some ways mimic those type of destructive behaviors because of those traumas. So, and there was a lot more that was involved in that. So, as usual, I met with the staff and particularly Yada to explain to her as we were trying to flesh out what we could propose to the council in terms of a topic for the next year. And it really seemed like it was the natural thing to do. Let's take a look at mental health. But in years past, and I think that you and I had a discussion about this, Mike, at some point in time earlier last year. Our topics have been broad. And with that type of broad topic, it becomes very voluminous for a full-time staff to try to coalesce that into an annual report. So a lot of what we were thinking about doing, and I'll leave you with this, was taking a look at the aspect of Black males with mental health and an alarming statistic that 49.7% of Black males or Black marriages fail. Why is that significant? Obviously, we want to take a look at the Black male experience in that space. What are some of the things what were some of the repercussions of that? An intact family that is now separated. what some of the causes were in relation to mental health. Um, you know, and so we wanted to flesh out some questions, and certainly, of course, we're not the subject matter experts of that, and we can come up with a bunch of questions. But I felt as though that it would be better served if we asked and a group of mental health experts, have them come here or on our on our platforms and explain to us how we can frame that in a research context. So that's what tomorrow is about, where we will ask them those type of questions. If you have questions, sure, please chime in for tomorrow, and see how we can go ahead and work on a research, now that we have a research topic, that we can have our staff work on the annual report in January instead of waiting to put something together in June. So we get more information and more content, and we're able to flush out things that otherwise we would have had a harder time to do. Anybody, any thoughts about that or ideas?
It's such a broad topic, but the layout of the book this year, different sections can be explored.
It can, yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because oftentimes we didn't have the time. So now that we're bringing this quicker for staff to explore, it gives us that latitude that we didn't have before. Yeah. So that's the direction that we wanted to go. I said, hey, guess what? Let's go ahead and do this much sooner, so we can go ahead and see, because it may just reveal, talking to the mental health experts, that we might discover something else. But in that vein, that we want to explore, or in addition to.
We can cover both juvenile and adults, not just one, because it's different. We're going to find different reasons and recommendations for juveniles that will differ than adults, and what's affecting them. So I think in starting now, and it is a broad topic, that we can do a great job. They can do a great job in pulling in information. So we're covering the full spectrum.
So this is the discussion I wanted to have. So we bring in adults into the situation. Naturally, juveniles become adults, and thus, of the marriage and age, and because of those traumas, where's the connective tissue?
No, I was just going to say, I don't know if you all have heard of Dr. Shirley Planton, and she does a lot of training for me in Region 4. And she wrote a book on backstories. And her book, and she's explaining it, that everyone brings to the table their backstory. We're all made up of our backstory. And I just think it would be great. She deals, with juveniles, but she also explains, like you said, that juvenile becomes the adult, but they're bringing all of that with them at the adult age. And that's why some of the things are happening. And then we as a culture, we think that seeking help, speaking with a counselor, is not something, it's taboo. As if we can admit we need to talk to someone. So there are a lot of things that can be covered, because we can encourage through the report that it's okay to say, I'm not good and I need to talk to someone, and go when you speak to someone. Our history is you talk to your pastor. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's not a bad thing, but you also need to talk to that person that's trained in the field And it would be great if they're trained in the field and happen to be in the ministry also, so you get both together. But I think a lot can come out of that.
Yeah, I was about to say, my sentiment exactly. If the purpose to focus on marriages, but I think we are missing the boat because the symptoms and the factors and the conditions that existed throughout the years, because it's fitting the horse rate. It's kind of late. I think focusing on the kids, young black men, young black boys, and in a lot of cases, young girls, in the case, young black boys, to help address those factors, address those conditions as they become young men and adults. It kind of helps solidify, all those conditions, all those traumas that occurred throughout the continuum of the life and we can have more solid marriages. I think from the mental health perspective, and I think though also now if we're going to focus on families in addition to that, because many of those traumas that young black boys experience, and it's in part because of their family conditions and those broken marriages and those broken relationships that were separate. But I think focusing solely on that, I think we're missing what we really need to address young black boys and all those traumas, conditions, and factors that by the time they become, just like health. There's not much you can do about health once we reach a certain age. Because all those conditions and factors that were not addressed prior to us having bad good health is the key. So I think if we're going to take this mental, and I think mental health is a perfect topic, but I really think we should focus on young men, young black boys in this case, as part of the strategies, which I'm sure this expert that come in will explain to us. One of the strategies is also those conditions that exist in home, because a lot of young black boys are not in traditional homes where you got the Cosby situation, where you got the Huxtables. We're not. And it's just one of those things. So I think focusing on both from that angle, I think we'll get more bang for the buck. Unfortunately, now we have a staff with the executive director and others that can kind of lead us. Because again, back to this report, this is the best report I've seen since I've been involved with council. And we actually have recommendations in this report to the legislature with specific recommendations and specific dollar amounts attached that can address these. So again, excellent job with that.
Yeah, and just to paraphrase what you both were talking about in regards to the social determinants of health as it relates to mental health in the Black community. Certainly when we talk about marriage, we understand that that's a symptom, that the underlying causes or the underlying current of issues are the focus of that. But the narrative of that nearly 50% of those marriages falling apart. Take a look at what's happened in juvenile life that's been brought into adult life, and you get that type of that's the end equation for that. And so those are some of the things that we have there. But Yada, if you don't mind, I know that this was a little bit of your, you want to go ahead and do the introduction to this, and we'll take a look at this. And just to give you a heads up, last year, the members that were able to attend, we had Monica and we had Jamil do an excellent job last year at Florida A&M in regards to some of the presentations that they made. They'll be with us again this year, and others to go ahead, Dr. Samuel, and there's a list of people in their bios are forthcoming, right?
Yeah, they're in the handout.
In the handout, okay. That we want to go ahead and talk about this. This is just the introduction of the objectives that we're looking at when it comes to those situations. Naturally, we're looking at we don't want people to just think that marriage by itself is the institution we're looking at in terms of that's it. We are looking at the social determinants of health when it comes to Black mental health. However, this is why this number is being affected in marriages. And we're going to let the subject matter experts kind of frame how we can play with that. But this is just the start, so we can go ahead and a launch pad, if you will, as God has it. Part of having our mental health professionals and family advocates chime in on this is, are they identifying, are they seeing, for the ones who are courageous enough to go to these places, are there things that they're seeing, dealing with that maybe the general public doesn't know about and we need to bring more attention to? And so, naturally, we want to find out what those things are. We want to ask them, what are those things that maybe we're not seeing, that, as professionals, you're seeing. We can always be told what the narrative is about mental health as it relates to Black women and boys. However, is there something emerging that we can go ahead and be in front of instead of, always being behind? So that's one of the things that we want to go ahead and explore. Yes, sir.
I missed the beginning of the conversation, so I apologize. We tackle mental health a lot over the past 14, 15 years, a lot. We had contracted out with a couple of facilitators that I remember a meeting we had in Gainesville, facilitator, we had mental health. She basically told us our scope is too wide. Right. Our scope is too wide, that narrow. So I caught some of what you were saying, Mike, yeah, but I actually like this in the way it's framed, simply because our report is due once a year. And I tried to, that's in the statute also, try to convince somebody that can we not have a yearly annual report? But some of the things we're tackling take more than a year. Mm-hmm. And you have certain people who work on a project and they give a 3-year report after they had so much time. But I understand what you're saying, like the going back a minute earlier, but I think going back earlier will have a larger and larger scope again. This seems to be a little narrow now, since we're only dealing with the marriage. But I wanted to, I'm sorry for telling you, moving on like that. I wanted to look at the, not only the objective methodology, how we're planning on doing it. It seems to be just looking at that one.
The introduction, can we go up to?
No, I read that one. It seems to be just focusing on that one piece, because when we talk about mental health, we can talk about so much. Right. And in fact, not next year, the year after that, we probably did mental health again and come up with another topic on mental health. So, but like we said, Mike, we gave kudos. And I was the one who said it on the call. I'm afraid about next year's report. They did such a great job this year. Now the bar's been raised so much. I don't want to set us up by having a scope so wide. I think it needs to be targeted. And I think we're accomplishing this now with this topic now.
I agree with that. I think an annual report is, in this case, is difficult. I agree with that. But we do want to, and I agree with you, we don't want it so wide that we can't have in the report specific recommendations, because keep in mind, we're coming up with a topic to ensure that we have specific recommendations to the legislature for activities and projects and things that research can be funded, and so that's why, I think in going the same direction, I'm thinking, narrow down, but you're right, that can be wide. We would have to be specific in what type of activities and research we're going to do. So, yeah, so it's, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's interesting, Vice Chair, it's interesting you said that, because one purpose on the council is when we have a report, we have our members of the delegation champion this. So I'd be interested to see now, since the session's in, who brings this up? How is this funded? How is this championed also? So I don't recall any past reports that anything, no, that's wrong. We did the diversion. That diversion that was big on us the year was, I don't think you're involved with that, and we finally got that champion now. So this is a good time. So I think a lot of things probably wasn't championed in the past because our scope was so wide. But I think if you look at last year, there's a lot of recommendations in here that someone could champion and run with this year. I want to continue doing the same thing with all our subsequent reports, annual reports.
Yeah, everybody is absolutely right. One of the constricting things that we've done, and Mike, you brought this up about a year ago, or even 2 years when I came up on board, and we were talking about fundamentally changing the council, was that one, we had so many irons in the fire. Two, our scope was so huge that and too broad, and so there was a lot of generalization going on into our annual reports. And we could do two things at once. We could certainly go ahead and highlight the, always the underlying conditions that are the reservoir that mental health, or at least the conditions of mental health, creates in that environment. And still at the same time, be very intentional about narrowing it down to a vein with marriage. In addition, and really to bring that to a head is to say that the family unit is what we're concerned about. And the Black family unit. And certainly, of course, we want to champion, marriage, the benefits of that. However, these are some of the discussions around mental health when somebody comes into that type of union, and that we need to be aware of. Certainly, a lot of things about what people bring as baggage into a relationship that needs to be identified first. Yeah, we do have to do that, but not so much as to address everything. I'm sure we should highlight these are the factors, these are some of the issues that will go on. But please, when that comes into a union, those things are brought, and what kind of supportive services or we may be able to find out. Yada and Sydney and Jerome may be able to find out unutilized laws, anything, much like in education, from books and so on and so forth. We may be able to find that. I don't have all the answers right now, naturally, and that's what research is about. Let's flesh that out, see what it looks like.
I have a thought that's totally off topic a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
However, given the fact, look at this, the annual report is due at the end of every calendar year.
Yeah, December 15th every year.
Every other year, we're gonna have session in January or March.
Right.
This is the second time, but really the first time that we had recommendations like this for the legislation. We're talking about another research topic for this current calendar year, right? Let's say we go down the road with the mental health research topic. Okay. Get an excellent report, excellent research, excellent recommendations. The recommendations in this current report, that if they're not championed in this session, it's probably lost. And it's probably lost in the next session. So again, this is just something that the executive board may want to talk about at some point, strategize on. That now that we have an excellent staff on board, get excellent recommendations, because in the current report, there's some hefty price tags, associated with the recommendations, rightfully so. And it may be a strategy that we come up with an annual report, make some recommendations, and then that following session, try to get some traction on that, on those recommendations, and try to get some movement on it. Because, for instance, during this session, if these recommendations is not addressed or get no traction at all, by next session, this is lost. And now we have a whole nother set of recommendations, on mental health, which I'm sure will be just as thorough, just as accurate, and just as on point as this. But by next session, this is pretty much lost. And I want to make sure that we don't get into that kind of cycle. Just something for consideration for the executive board and you guys next week.
Oftentimes, I'm glad that you brought that up. Oftentimes, I'm getting assailed by members of the public that will call the office of the Attorney General, and I accept those calls to figure out their angle about why this, why that, and so on and so forth. I spoke to staff. I remember there was a gentleman I may have talked about him before, who was particularly upset. Did we revisit the topics in our annual report to see if there's any traction on that? That stuck with me. I was so brand new as chair. That stuck with me. That's for the same reason why I felt like our budget needed to go up too. Because my desire was never just to have one research assistant. My desire was to have many research assistants. And with those research assistants, to have them do follow-up with our previous annual reports to assist in that manner. Because you're right. I mean, we're just churning out annual reports. What does that look like? We just give the recommendations. What are we doing? We don't have the capacity at this moment, like we didn't have the capacity in the first half year, because we didn't have staff. Now that I'm in this and I've been flushing this out, and I'm glad we're talking about it right now, I see the need for more funding so we can have additional research assistants, so we can have that to be looked at exclusively. It's what I spoke to my staff about, that hey, this is what we need to do. I mean, this is why I'm asking for these dollars. And if I'm not able to get research assistants, can we have enough contracted dollars for somebody to assist us in that vein? So, have you thought about? Yeah, I've spoken light into that for at least for the past year and a half. And if not to anybody else, I think to you, Yoda, because I was like, what's the point of having a research coordinator when she doesn't have but one research assistant? I wasn't just satisfied with just that. There should have been more, as she's coordinating the efforts of this annual report, and also some of the recommendations that we made before. Our responsibility to, or at least the spirit of what this state statute has, and for the, Representative Frederica Wilson, was to go ahead and put these measures in front of individuals and have them to be actionable, right? That's what we want. And so what does that take? It takes changing and making our representatives and senators accountable by having, if they are not here, having their legislative aides here, having them work with us consistently so they can go ahead and bring that to, of course, their authority. And also, at some point in time, have a research assistant or two, and if not, secure additional dollars where we can contract to have additional people help us for that same reason that you speak of. Because I do know that that's an issue, and I've been challenged on that on a couple occasions. Well, did you? Okay. So oftentimes, I should preface this, I'm sorry, I should preface this too, that sitting as chair, I get volley from the public all the time. They find me, they find the agency, oh my goodness, I can't even tell you. And I get peppered with a lot of interesting questions and challenged all the time about certain things. So, I'm glad you brought that up because that's part of what I absorb on dates. Is there any other thoughts about that? But at least for my vision of securing more dollars for additional research assistance to help us with that portion of it. Certainly we need an apparatus of individuals as we look ahead if we can't change the state statute to deliver on our deliverables for December 15th. But also, as we want to be, methodical in at least having a portion of our staff to go ahead and, be on top of, some of the things that are going on in terms of pushing some of that, those measures. And, because at some point in time, you're going to get a call like I did, like I do, I should say, from the general public. And sometimes they're not nice. And however, I understand their passion. And it was a little bit why I put up that video about who we are and what we're tasked to do as a council. Because many times the requests come in and it is just outlandish. And that's why we have social media now. That's why we have the website we have now. Because a lot of people have a perverse idea about who we are and quite truthfully what we can do. And it's and they always find disappointment when I explain to them, the research apparatus. We're here to propose measures, and so they really, some of them are. I can tell you, I feel the anger with expletives all the way down to, all the way down to, thank you for letting me know. I didn't know that. And to illustrate the point, was 2 months ago. When Representative Webster Barnaby didn't even know what we did here. He asked right there on a public call, exactly what do we do? So there's a lot of education that needs to still go out there. And those are what the platforms are to help us do, surely. And since, the only promotion we have is self-promotion, so we know that could take a little bit longer until at some point in time, the media see something that we do and they decide to write or to televise it. And certainly we want to be prepared for that moment. And I think that we're taking all the steps to get to that point. Anybody else have any thoughts about, at least the fact of what I was thinking about in building out staff for that portion too? At least that's my desire. Whether it happens is another thing. But I think that certainly what my desires are right now, it seems to not come to fruition right away. But it might be something that sees itself through in a few years, or somebody else who's chair at that time can take the baton, and they may see it differently, but maybe be able to champion that. So that's where we're going with that. So I'm more than happy to take any suggestions that you have, and maybe try to figure those matters out. Okay, we're doing really good here. So as a recap, these are the individuals that are coming in tomorrow to go ahead and speak to us about this year's annual topic. Does anybody have any comments, thoughts, or suggestions about today's topics and what we talked about? Certainly, I thought that this was a really good topic, and I'm glad that we came to some consensus in regards to helping our cause to advance our agenda. I think that was really important. It was great to go in and take a look at what the budget consideration looks like, and what it looks like from this moment on until June, and what we have. I think tomorrow will be better to go ahead and at least start off in the morning, where we can talk about at least in my remarks, naturally what our next meeting would look like, and how we can build that out, and where. One of the things that doesn't escape me is, a meeting that we had, I think it was a couple months back, where Ben was talking about, the day of dialogue, bringing that along. It's been absence, at least from our agenda, of course, naturally due to COVID. But now that we're back in the swing of things, we need to take a look at that. And certainly, I have an idea that Dr. Sandville has an entire organization down in South Florida, where I'm at. And, naturally, I was thinking about us having a day of dialogue.
I did say, Chair, I did say next fiscal year, correct?
Yeah, next.
Because of the budget.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like virtual meetings up until that time.
We can have a one-off, but day of dialogue, I think it includes non-state employees on board.
Mm-hmm.
So when we start seeing the day of dialogue, at one point we had, everyone to show up. That's going to be, cost, travel, hotel, income, flight. So I definitely want to do that, but what I leave off at 9,000, I said, of expense. I think that's we should hit that starting beginning next fiscal year.
Okay.
That's in July.
Okay. So that's what it'll probably look like. Naturally, one of the things I have not gotten from the Office of the Attorney General yet is their crime prevention annual meeting. We generally attend that. It could be anywhere in the state. And they haven't told us anything about that yet. I asked about that yearly because it's naturally we do have as of course this is supposed to be a quarterly meeting. However, our business meeting, we always know, we're attached and affiliated with the Black Caucus, and they usually have their meetings during the Classic in November, so we know we'll meet up there naturally. But the other thing that always was earmarked too in years past was the crime prevention meeting. And that was somewhere around May. Do you remember that?
It May, but then a couple of times it was
switched to August or something like that. Yeah, one off. Yeah, so that was switched to a one-off or something like that in August. And I think that was during the pandemic, but we wanted to prove to the citizens, I think, if I remember correctly, um, the, um, the administration wanted us to go ahead or wanted the state to show that, we can manage even through the virus. And so that's why it was in August one of those years. So I've always had in the back of my mind that around May, we're somewhere in the state to go ahead and go to that Crown Prevention um, meeting. And I believe that's where I think that's where we had to change the naming convention, the cipher, was kicking the truth to the children, and we do it at that time. So, so that's I in my mind as I think about the schedule and how we've put things together, at least the business meeting face to face. Those are the three that I know that are constants, and then I try to think of what the fourth can be, and that's what I'm looking at with the Miami visit down here. And we haven't been in Miami for a long time. Can you remember when was last time we were in Miami?
When they had within Crown Council meeting there.
We canceled it. Remember?
So the time before.
Oh, the time before. Okay.
I don't remember what year it was. At least 5+ years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. So, and what I like to go ahead and do there, because it's a fairly large organization, Data Dialogue, and actually notice that, have our members, involved, and down there we do a couple days of just a really good discussion about particularly our research topic, what other influences can go into that topic, and things to be aware of that maybe we're not aware of at that time. So that's where we're at. So with that, I'll leave the floor open. Does anybody have anything else to add to today's meeting? Okay. Yeah, so we have Pat. Sydney, for the record, Keonta Moore and Pat Smith are on the line.
Mm-hmm.
And so to those members, welcome and hello. And we've been able to get to the agenda for today. And because it is session, naturally we extend the courtesies and latitudes for people to go ahead and get to their appointing agencies for much work that they have. So without any other comments, suggestions, or even thoughts or ideas, do you have? 12. Is your voice going out?
Well, as of currently right now, I'm waiting on my ears to pop, so I almost sound partially deaf, so I can't really properly hear you all unless I put my ear close to the screen. So keep me in prayer. Still recovering from COVID. My wife is feeling a lot better. I'm taking, of course, antibiotics right now, but I think that today's meeting was really well. It was really awesome to see how comprehensive. I think this had to be one of the more comprehensive meetings that myself, Yata, and Sydney. Now that we can actually go back and debrief and pull some really great things, of course, due to you all's opinions, your suggestions, and recommendations on how we should be able to move forward this year with the topic and so many other things. So definitely thank you. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for entrusting us to do the work of the council. And let's just keep up the good work.
Thank you, Jerome. Thank you for your leadership, and certainly the council appreciates that too. Does anybody else have any thoughts or comments, anything they'd like to share?
I don't know that all the time.
Go ahead, Mike, you're okay.
No, looking at this annual report, I think when you have an opportunity to meet, I guess, with the members of legislators, you know, obviously you're gonna emphasize this annual report. And I think addressing mental health in the realm that Mr. Shirley talked about is an excellent continuation of the recommendations made here, i.e. all of the issues, mental health issues that lends itself to the need for fatherhood initiatives and for mentor programs, you know, which will be addressed through this research. And I think it's a continuation to show the need why through the research we're recommending funding or an extended funding for fatherhood initiatives and mentor programs. So I think, again, I'm still trying to make sure that we don't lose this, and at some point it's forgotten about and collecting dust somewhere on somebody's shelf. You know, the mental health topic that we're choosing to address is a perfect continuation of these recommendations. So it's kind of like doing them simultaneously, so it's not lost. So I just wanted to make that point.
No, I'm glad that you did. I'm not quite sure if I spoke to you since my last meeting with the Black Caucus and how that fleshed out. I met with them in November. Terrell was with me at that meeting. And as usual, representatives and senators had some pointed, and like I said, not poignant, but pointed questions at the council. And it was, it got to the point where I had to explain to them, did you read the report? Did you take a look at their measures and what are you doing about that? The silence in this room is exactly the silence that was in that room. I'm going to protect us no matter what. But what I'm not going to do as chair is I am going to speak truth to power. It came to a point where it felt as though that it was, what do you need our support for? What do you need our help for? And that's the wrong thing to say. We're putting in the work. I'm telling you, we're putting in the work. But this is our power to do. Our state statute gives us these powers. So I'm going to have Terrell follow up with them. They were to give us a recommendation for this year for the very first time. So you know it's in the state statute that legislative members may give us a topic to examine, to research. They were to submit one to us. We gave them a month. My time has since gone. So, of course, we left with high spirits, and so certainly there was no animosity about the exchange. However, I will tell you this. As chair, that has been very revealing in my life, having this distinction. And the challenge you get sitting in this chair is many. And you have to have a disposition about yourself to address individuals. And when it's difficult. Those are difficult situations and moments. And certainly, and I'm probably not even giving enough credit about what I have to go through when it comes to that stuff. But I gladly serve in this capacity to make things better. I think that that's what we and the executive committee has done, and we will continue to do. But I'm going to stick up for us in the things that we do, no matter what. But more to your point, Mike, for them to keep aware and stuff like that. I will say this publicly, that it is not, although they may know we exist, their agendas, let's put it this way, their agendas are not aligned with ours. And when I make that why it should be and can be, I always get the obligatory handshake. We're going to work together, because that's exactly what happened, in November. But December went past. January went past. Same. So how do we change that? Because then it comes down to what can we do to change that? Well, it comes down to us being more deliberate in our follow through, and doing exactly what I am going to write our members, our legislative members to do. Please bring legislative aides. Please have them if you can attend the legislative aides. And that's how we start about solving that issue. But I address a lot of things that you're talking about. I try to address and bring to your attention. But one of the things that one of the representatives brought up to me, who championed my cause because it caused a little ruckus, he was like, they haven't given him any power, meaning the council. He was there when this first started. He's like, you haven't given him any power. We got to give him power. And so it was good to have that type of backing from one of the representatives there. That isn't involved even with the council, but was there when his buddies and him, a legacy member of the Black Caucus. We will try again. We will do. We're not determined. We'll keep on going on that. So, and I'm hopeful that we can go ahead and do that. Now that we got a dedicated staff, we can go ahead and keep on trying. In years past, where we didn't even have the bandwidth or even individuals to go help us with that. And it was tough. So on that end of it, I agree with Terrell. We had an incredible morning, and thank you for letting us power through. And at this moment, I will go ahead and take a motion for adjournment. Second. All in favor, aye. Any opposed? The meeting is so adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone that's remotely out there. Take care, Terrell. We'll see everybody tomorrow.